Well, here we go. Late night happy hour on a Tuesday. And, we're mixing in Ryan McKinnell on a regular basis. And BPF, as I will always call him, Ballpark Frank, VGK Frank, is also being mixed in. So what a night. We got a post-game show, in essence. Follow up the conference champions eventually. I remember we're already wearing the hat from a couple of years ago. VGK goes out and wins 4-1. Easy victory against the Blackhawks. Or was it? These guys will break it down. And then Alex Crawford's here with us, our buddy from Southern California, who's going to lead the show, and I'm going to produce behind the scenes. So, yeah, any questions you got, we basically want this to be for the first half hour or so, as long as it lasts, a post-game show for the Golden Knights at the beginning of this series against the Blackhawks. So we'll get plenty of comments in, and I'm excited. I think these two guys are two of the best hockey voices in the market, and we're glad to have them. And, Alex, you take it away, buddy.
Yeah, I'll take it away by starting. I'm not one of the best hockey voices in any market anywhere. No, which is actually why I'm stoked to have these two on, because I'm a big sports fan and I can get excited about things. And so I think I even put this in the show notes. I was like, I think with the UFC stuff, sell me on this, get me pumped up. I'm a fringe UFC fan. I'm dipping my toes in the water. In fact, I actually, Orange County, where I'm from and where I live, big UFC area, big hockey, SoCal, we've got big hockey, and I'm a fringe fan. Like, I go to games, then I get excited, then I forget. So I'm like, get me pumped on this. I kind of want to ask you guys a question. Like, what are the expectations of the Golden Knights? Why sell me on the Golden Knights? Like, get me pumped on the GK game and why I should start watching them.
Well, Frank, I'll just say this in relation to MMA. I mean, there's obviously similarities there. They're both extremely violent. They can be. I would say tonight, business really picked up, Frank, after Marchessault and Taves got into it in the bench there. I felt like the intensity really picked up. But why should we sell Alex on the Vegas Golden Knights, or what could we sell him on? I would say track record, Frank. 3 years in, they're a winning franchise. They continue to win. They were downhill tonight, kicking ass and staying aggressive and playing really well. And they're the number one seed for a reason. They're arguably the best team in hockey right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, they certainly played extremely well ever since Pete DeBoer took over the club. This team had, like you mentioned, they've been in the playoffs every season that they've been there. They had the crazy incident last season that put a chip on their shoulder. They're healthy now. As good as they looked in the round robin, where they swept everybody and won the games easily over some of the best teams in the West. In fact, the other best teams in the West, without a doubt. And then all they do is they add a guy like Matt Pacioretty, who was their leading point man for the season. They're more physical than Chicago. You mentioned the fracas a little bit between Marchessault and Taves. How about when Ryan Reeves ran over Kirby Dach earlier in the game? Yeah. Will Carrier was throwing his weight around. They're a physical team. They're a strong team. They're a fast team. And quite frankly, Chicago screwed it up before the trade deadline when they let Robin Leonard come to the Vegas Golden Knights. Because if Robin Leonard was still in Chicago and they had Crawford and Leonard, that tandem could be very dangerous. But now with Flower and Crawford, and then with Flower and Robin Leonard, and then Crawford having his backup being Malcolm Subban, the guy that the Golden Knights didn't think was good enough to play in playoff hockey games, huge edge. I think anything short of winning the Western Conference Championship and making it to the Stanley Cup Final at this point would quite frankly be a disappointment to Vegas Golden Knights fans, and maybe rightfully so.
Yeah, all I could think about was watching tonight, especially after I think it was the third goal Crawford gave up for the Blackhawks, which was extremely soft. The Riley Smith goal, it might have been the second, I don't remember. Point being, as I caught myself thinking, boy, the Blackhawks, they could really use Robin Leonard right now. You know what I mean? So that trade at the trade deadline is going to shape up to be a huge narrative as this series goes on. And if the Blackhawks can make any sort of series out of it. After watching last night, there's Blackhawks fans out there. I'm one of them. You see it over there, right? You got my Patrick Kane bobblehead. You got my Bobby Hull signed puck. I'm a Vegas Knights season ticket holder, but I wouldn't be a Vegas Knights season ticket holder if I wasn't a hockey fan. And I became a hockey fan with the Blackhawks. I want to see this Blackhawks team do well. But if you use tonight as a measuring stick, and the way Vegas beat them around and how poor Corey Crawford looked, Chicago is going to need to find something. They're going to need to find it quick because it's fairly quick turnaround with that afternoon game on Thursday. Alex, I don't know if that answered your question, but I mean, it's
yes,
something.
and then some. Yes,
it's
and then
something.
some.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I can tell you guys are passionate, and as Cofield said, probably two of the best hockey voices around. So, I mean, you got me interested. But I heard a little rumor. A little bird told me that you guys were Chicago Blackhawks fans. How do you reconcile that with this series?
I guess I'll start there. I had season tickets to the Blackhawks when I went there, and my best friend turned me on to hockey. I became a huge hockey fan. I love the Blackhawks. I love the organization. I was back there, and it was Dennis Savard and L.C. Cord and Murray Bannerman getting his start back at the tail end of Tony Esposito's career. So, yes, I'm old. I obviously just also pointed that out to everybody out there. But they really turned me on to hockey, and when I saw it live, it completely sold me. You watch it on TV, and it's a great sport, but after all this COVID crap is over with and we can go back to live stuff again, you need to go to a live hockey game. The speed, the power, the intensity, the veracity, everything else that happens. And in the playoffs, it's ramped up that much higher. I was sold on hockey. I love the Blackhawks. I will always be a Blackhawk fan, but I also have covered the Golden Knights now. I've gotten to know some of the players. So I won't say that I'm torn by this because I'm sitting back. I hope it's a good series. Quite honestly, I hope Vegas can give them a good series. I mean, that Chicago can give them a good series because I honestly think Vegas is clearly the best team here. And again, we mentioned Robin Lehner going at the trade deadline. Eric Gustafsson also was let go for basically nothing. Chicago was selling the farm and basically giving up on the season. They never thought that they were going to be in the playoffs this year. I have a feeling that I know the Chicago Blackhawk fans back in Chicago would love to have both of those guys back on the roster.
Yeah, and as far as, reconciling, it's not hard for me. I'm a Chicago sports fan. I root for Chicago, and that's really all there is to it. I support the Golden Knights. I want to see them do well. I'm a season ticket holder since the very first. I mean, I was at the expansion draft. I've been all 3 seasons season ticket holder. I've been to way more Knights games than I've ever been to Blackhawks games. But it's not about that. It's about the genesis. It's about the birth. It's about what you fell in love with at hockey. And I remember going to old Chicago Stadium and it was a different hockey was a different vibe. And Frank will tell you back in Chicago, I mean, I don't know the 70s, but the 80s, the early 90s, I mean, it was heavy metal. It was dirty. It was grimy. It was, there was a lot of character to it. Vegas's hockey experience is much different. Vegas's hockey experience, and I've lived it. And so is Frank. We've lived it both. It's very, highbrow. It's very highfalutin. It's a very upper echelon experience. Like they bring the entertainment, they bring the pizzazz, they bring the pomp and circumstance. You know what I'm saying? I'm sounding like an old dude here now. I'm just saying it's a completely different experience. So the way I look at it is, first of all, I want to see the Blackhawks win this because time's running out for them. The same I don't think can be said about the Golden Knights. So I'm a fan of the Chicago Blackhawks. I will be until I die. I support the Vegas Golden Knights because of my fandom for the Blackhawks. I wanted hockey here in the desert because of my love of the Chicago Blackhawks and love of the NHL. Seeing the Vegas Golden Knights do good, not just good, exceed every measurable type of expectation or metric has just been a cherry on top. It's been a really special part of all of our lives. I mean, if you live here, Alex, I know you don't. I know you're in SoCal, but there's no way you've avoided the story that is the Golden Knights, especially that first year, riding it all the way to the Stanley Cup. Like I said, the day after I was on Cofield show, the day after we lost that Stanley Cup to the Capitals in Game 5, I remember going on the air and just saying, like, you're sad now, but I promise you when this is all over, you will realize what the Golden Knights did was bigger than a championship. And it is. It is bigger than a championship because every single year a team wins a championship in every single major sport, and you can't tell me by and large who those teams are. Go back to 1997 and tell me who the World Series champ was. Tell me who the Super Bowl champ was. Tell me who the NBA champ. Okay, NBA champ might be easy because of the Bulls, but you get what I'm saying. What the Knights did stands alone. It's a benchmark moment for the NHL, and it will always be a part of the Golden Knights. And so, yeah, I mean, they've got those special moments. And as far as it goes for this series, and Frank, I would imagine you feel somewhat similar. It's going to be a positive outcome for both of us because at the end of the day, there's going to be a team that we care about on some level advancing in the playoffs, and we'll have a vested interest. On top of just being NHL fans, we'll have a vested interest going into the next round on some level.
Yeah, when you talk about the positive aspect for both clubs, I think the positive aspect for Vegas is going to be they're healthy, they're playing good hockey, and I think they're going to advance, quite honestly. I really do. I think Corey Crawford has to play absolutely out of his mind for them to have any shot whatsoever, and I don't know if he can do it in a 7-game series against a team with this kind of firepower. The positive aspect for the Chicago Blackhawks, Kirby Dach, Alex DeBrincat, some of the young players they have, they're getting playoff experience in a year when, quite honestly, they probably would not have been in the playoffs. The young coach, Colleton, behind the bench is getting experience with these guys. The team's buying into his system more. So there are positives for Chicago just by the fact that they're here. I know there's some Chicago fans out there that were actually upset that they weren't in the lottery for the number 1 draft pick. And I get that to some extent. Your odds were still 1-8. You know, you're in the playoffs. You're all getting the experience. I think in the long run, the experience that some of these youngsters get might help them out. A guy like Kirby Dach, we've already seen him grow. He's got a huge upside. I think he needs to be a little bit more unselfish and shoot the puck. He didn't do it in the series against Edmonton. He actually did it a little bit more tonight, although shots on goal were very difficult for both teams, especially the Blackhawks there. So there is a positive thing. I think right now what I'm the most curious about is, what is Pete DeBoer doing between the pipes in the next game? Do we see Fleury go? Does he continue the rotation? Does he go with Leonard again because he was sensational tonight? Remember, after the game on Thursday, we have back-to-backs on Saturday and Sunday. So is that where you kind of split it up a little bit? There's still decisions to be made, but right now Vegas is clearly in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and then you say, you know, what do they do between the net on Thursday in the afternoon? I think you roll with Leonard. I think you address that, you know, depending on how Leonard does on Thursday and what happens from that, you figure out what you do in the back-to-back, as you said, over the weekend. Now, one thing I thought you brought up was really interesting was the experience that the young Blackhawks team is getting, and they are a young Blackhawks team despite the veteran presence. Listen, and going back to the comment you made about some of those Chicago fans that would rather have, you know, their chance at getting the number 1 pick in the lottery, I would rather have the chance at running, you know, through the playoffs as an 8 seed with Crawford, Keith, Taves, and Kane, and the hopes that that veteran presence coupled with that youthful, you know, sort of zest would push you towards the Stanley Cup. I'll take that every single day of the week. And you talk about experience. That's such a great point because their lack of experience, and I'm talking about the Blackhawks, really showed up tonight, especially in the case of Kirby Dach, taking a couple bad penalties or one specific a bad tripping penalty. That was something that really shone through on the Blackhawks tonight. And I saw you on Twitter, Frank. One thing you were saying, you know, if the Blackhawks have any hope of winning this series, Crawford needs to play infinitely better. I agree with you on that. And they need to stop taking stupid penalties because it's going to be the little things that get, you know, even just let me get this straight. It's going to be the little things that even make it possible for Chicago to even have a minute chance in this series because it was very clear to me, Frank, you just ended what you were saying. Vegas is in the driver's seat. Absolutely. It was very clear after watching tonight that Vegas is the better team on the ice by a pretty wide margin, at least right now. And listen, Frank, when you look at the bubble games and the play-in games and the seeding games, I should say, the round-robin tourney, I mean, what do you think, man? I mean, the best team in the NHL right now, they're certainly playing the best hockey. They've come from behind. They're playing on all cylinders. They're playing physical. They're back-checking. Their offense is clicking. Their head coach seems to have command. Oh, and the head coach is also starting Robin Leonard, right, in net. That's a ballsy decision. You know what I mean? When you know that, I mean, you don't have to deal with fans in the media in the same way with the pandemic, but I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury is beloved in the city. So it's a lot going right for the Knights right now.
Yeah, well, let's face it. Yeah,
hey,
go
Frank,
ahead.
let me break in for 1 second before you answer the outlook for the future. I just wanted to punch up a couple questions for Alex to ask from the audience. We definitely want to be interactive, and especially within this game. First up is Mark in Vegas, and I'll punch these up for you, Alex, and you can read them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Mark in Vegas. Hawks were very scrappy in the first 10 minutes of the game. High danger shots. Frank, Big Mac, what do you guys say about that?
Well, yeah, Frank, I completely agree. This was a fairly even game to start, and I don't know when that scrap with Taves and Marchessault happened. I think it was somewhere in the second, so maybe not the first 10 minutes, but I still point to that as kind of a jumping off point for this game really picked up. But it was scrappy, and the Hawks did show promise, especially early in the game. But what do you think? You think when Crawford let in that soft goal, it sort of deflated them?
I think that maybe deflated them a little bit, but I want to throw this in too. I agree they were scrappy. Going into this series, we heard all the Hawk players saying, you know what? We have nothing to lose in this. We weren't expected to be here. You expected them to come out and be scrappy. They just beat an Edmonton team that, was a 5 seed. They were the 12 seed. They weren't even supposed to be there. So I think the scrappiness also has something to do with, I think Vegas came out a little bit sloppy. They had some turnovers and gave the Blackhawks some opportunities. The Hawks hit a couple posts. If maybe they don't hit those posts and they go in the back of the net, maybe their confidence rises. Maybe they play a little bit better. Maybe Corey Crawford's play picks up as well. We know what a mental game things can be. I think the difference for the Blackhawks, and I think they're going to see this throughout this series, when they played Edmonton, Edmonton is a team with a lot of talent, but not a lot of heart. The Vegas Golden Knights have both, and that's a dangerous combination for Chicago to be playing right now because Edmonton has two of the best players in the game, and they couldn't get by a 12 seed. And remember, they didn't make the playoffs the last couple of years. Vegas has talent. They believe in themselves. They believe in Coach Pete DeBoer's system, and everything is on all systems go right now. You mentioned that they might be the best team in hockey right now. They might be, although strangely, I think some Flyer fans might have something to argue with that because they look sensational in that round robin.
Yeah. Let's go. Here's another one of the comments coming in from Treason ODB, and this might make you guys happy as a closet or longtime Hawks fans. Calm down with the sweep talk, Knights fans. This Hawks team is good. They won't get swept. Sweep talk? How we feel about sweep talk?
No, I don't remember me or Mac mentioning a sweep right now. Is it possible? Yeah, it absolutely is. In fact, what did I just say last time? If they would have got the confidence rolling and one or two of those shots that hit the post went in the back of the net, that does tend to rise the team's confidence up. It gets the youngsters to play better. They start believing in the system. It's a lot easier to play with a lead. The Hawks couldn't even get shots on goal right now. We saw St. Louis. We saw Colorado. We saw talented teams, including Dallas in that mix as well. They had a difficult time getting shots on goal. Vegas right now is really clamping down the defense. In fact, what happened when Marc-Andre Fleury gave up 4 goals on 13 shots in the last game he played in? People said, well, he didn't face enough shots, so he was rusty. There's always some reason or something like that to give people when they give up the goals right now. The Vegas Golden Knights are playing lockdown defense. Chicago needs to get great goaltending, and they need to find more ways to get shots on goal. If they can do that, they're young enough and confident enough, and they have enough top-end talent with Taves and Kane and Duncan Keith that they could win a game or two here. But if they don't get those goals and they don't get sensational goaltending, we could talk sweep. I'm certainly not predicting it, but Mac, I don't remember you saying that either.
No, and you said the Hawks can win a game or two. I still think they're capable of winning the series. I felt a little bit more positive in that regard before this game because the Blackhawks looked not great tonight, specifically the last 2 periods or so, and I have serious concerns around Corey Crawford and what he's going to bring to the table on Thursday afternoon. But I mean, you said it. I mean, first of all, look at the way they played against Edmonton. They had to come from behind. They needed to show that grit and determination. The veteran presence, Jonathan Taves. I mean, he was playing like 2013, 2015 Jonathan Taves. Like the man was possessed, right? When you have that guy on your team, anything's possible. Duncan Keith still playing at a high level, not Norris Trophy winning level, but Duncan Keith still very capable, and the veteran presence is shining. Patrick Kane's still one of the best players in the NHL. Then you talk about the youth, right? You talk about DeBrincat. You talk about Doc. They have players there that can make the night extremely uncomfortable for you. They can have you playing catch up. They can have your head spinning. The problem is all those qualities are also part of the Golden Knights. They're young, they're fast, they're determined. They have veteran presence mixed with youthful kind of exuberance. So it's almost like the Blackhawks are staring at themselves, 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. You're looking at a team in the Vegas Golden Knights that's built for the long haul. So, but no, I'm not I'm not counting the Chicago Blackhawks team out at all because 3 Stanley Cups is 3 Stanley Cups, and they're not. That's the problem. They started winning so early, you forget how young they actually are. Like Kane's like 31, Taves is maybe like 32. They're not old, right? They're not like Steve Yzerman in 98. Like they're not like slogging along. Right? They can still hurt you.
Let me jump in with this one. Is Fleury getting back in there? Really? On Saturday? You agree with Mark?
I think we're going to see Fleury if we don't see him Thursday, because remember, right now, Pete DeBoer has done the rotation. He started Leonard tonight. Yeah. I kind of think that he's earned the start in Thursday's game as well. What I think Pete DeBoer is trying to do is figure out which goaltender he thinks gives him the best opportunity to win. If he thinks that's Robin Leonard, I think that's what he's going to do. He was hired to win hockey games. And, one thing that's kind of crazy about this whole scenario is being up in the bubble and that, he's not really dealing with the media and the fan base and everything else. The media talks to him after the games, but he's going to do whatever he wants to. I think we will see Fleury in this series, though, because we have the back-to-backs on Saturday and Sunday, especially if, say, Leonard does play on Thursday and they're up 2-0. He might feel he has the luxury to give Flower a game in there just to get him some time and some rep and whatever too. Or who knows? We know that historically in the NHL, if a goaltender is hot, you keep on riding him until he's hot. I don't think it'd be a wrong decision to play Leonard every game until he does lose a game. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to do that. The thing is, Pete DeBoer doesn't have any loyalties. When Gerard Gallant was here, Fleury was his guy. He was the face of the franchise. The fans loved him. He's not Pete DeBoer's guy. Pete DeBoer's guys, when Marc-Andre Fleury was here the first 2 seasons, were Martin Jones and Aaron Dell, who both suck. He's got to be happy that he has this luxury of having a goaltending tandem like this.
Yeah, and Frank, I remember talking to you on various shows when we knew that this bubble scenario might be a possibility, and not even that, it was really it was around then, like when we started looking at like there's going to be a restart and doing it safely. We thought back to that trade at the trade deadline and bringing Leonard over, and how much of an advantage it was going to be having 2 capable goaltenders in what was essentially going to be a time crunch, right? And we pointed to Pittsburgh. There's other examples where that is highly advantageous, and I think we're just starting to see the beginning of it. But yeah, back to the original question or the original statement. I don't think there's any question that Robin Leonard goes on Thursday. I don't see how you could not have him go after a performance like tonight.
Back to the original question. I mean, you guys do have me now pumped on Golden Knights hockey, so thank you very much for that. And I think I never got to chime in on something you said earlier, Big Mac. I know this is kind of a post-game show, so I hope this isn't too big picture for some of our listeners. And I think your guys' insight is like insane, just as someone who, as I said, has 1 foot in. I turned on the NHL or the NBC Sports Network NHL show, whatever, tonight for the first time in a long time. I watched some hockey tonight, and I'm like, okay, I'll get back into it for the Cofield and Company late night happy hour show, so I can at least understand some of what Frank and Big Mac are saying. But what I think it was maybe even you, Frank, just talking about, or Big Mac, I forget who it was, but just going to a game, how much that means, how fun. I mean, we can't right now, right? Like right. I can't. But growing up, I did used to go watch Teemu Solani and Paul Kariya and the Anaheim Mighty Ducks back then.
Wait a minute. You saw Solani and Kariya play, and you aren't a lifelong hockey fan. And I'm sure it's Scott Niedermayer. Yeah. You saw those guys play, and you're not a hockey fan.
No, it's not. It doesn't translate to TV for me. It doesn't translate to TV for me and the day in, day out. But I'm saying I could be convinced. Like, I'm like, okay, let me join the cult. Bring me in. Bring me into the fold.
Come on in, man. Solani's one of my favorite players of all time, because back in the 90s, Frank, you could speak to this. It was, so there's the early 90s, and we had the nice Stanley Cup in 91, but then it was like Daze and Tony Amante, and it just wasn't, it was some sparse years in Chicago. So me, being a teenager, I had to find, guys that I actually like to watch playing hockey on a nightly basis. Solani, Lindros, and Pavel Bure. Those are my 3 guys that you could guarantee you could tune in on any given night. They were going to give you the goods.
Well, let's be honest about it. Back in those days, a lot of Blackhawk fans weren't watching the games because of some animosity going on in the city and some other things happening as well. But, when I was younger, when I first started watching hockey and that, I loved it live. And there was a lot of people that said that it didn't relate on TV the same. And I got that back then when the screens were smaller and that. But now with the giant screens and the great camera work and the different angles and the replays and everything, I'll be honest, sometimes when I see a goal or something and you're wondering, that looked like it deflected once, and then you see it deflected 2 times and it went off a skater. It's so exciting and so nonstop, and the back and forth action. And I love all sports, like both of you guys said. You guys love sports, and I know Steve loves it as well. I'm happy that we can have hockey in Vegas and talk about it. For over 20 years in this town, I was told I couldn't talk hockey on the radio because it was a ratings killer and nobody gave a damn and they weren't going to tune in. Now we have it and everybody's excited, but I believe the game sells itself. But for those people that say that it doesn't translate to TV as well, I think you need to look at it a little bit differently and really watch it on the big screen TV, give it a chance, and just check out the speed. And the one disadvantage to watching it on TV to me is they follow the puck the whole time. And I get that because that's what you're trying to do. When you're at a game live, you see the checks in the corner, you see the back checking, you see all the little nuances that really make the game great. Sometimes to see that on TV, you have to hope that one of the announcers caught it and they show a replay of it. That's where I think it sells itself more live. I love it on TV, but to me, it will always be an even better game in person.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this because I think after your point, Frank, I'm saying, it doesn't translate to TV. Well, TV's so good now. Like you can't, it's not like it's not coming through clear. It's everything.
It's a theater screen in your living room.
Yeah, exactly. Every sport is better televised now. But I would say this, what drives watching a lot of sports for me is storylines. Like that's a big reason why I've become more and more of an NBA fan is I've bought into more of the storylines and the narratives and I know more about the players and I follow them on Instagram and I know this and that. So like and I hope this isn't too redundant for some of the Golden Knights fans that are tuning in for the postgame show, but what are some of the storylines this season or things worth watching, storylines into the playoffs for the Vegas Golden Knights?
In what way? Like, what are the narratives surrounding the team that would get people hooked?
Yeah,
I'll give you one right here. Howard asked, no way Gallant doesn't play Marc-Andre Fleury in game one. He can still coach. So one of the big stories is the change from Gallant to Pete DeBoer. And there were a lot of Gallant backers, and there were people in the media who were even crying in their beer and getting all emotional about it. And you can't, right? The organization got to a point, and you guys feel free to shred me on this, and maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but my read is the organization got tired of Gerard, and this is going to sound shitty, but his loyalty. And sometimes you just got to make hard decisions. He likes certain guys. The organization doesn't necessarily like certain guys, and it was time for a freaking change. Gallant was not going to be cool stirring up the pot with Math and Leonard.
You 100% spot on. And Frank, I don't think any of us know this specific game, but I almost can guarantee you can remember the press conference when it was after, and maybe you will know the game, where Gerard Gallant went to the podium, and it was after a particularly morose, tepid, lukewarm performance where I think they got caught from behind. It was just an ugly ass game. And Gerard Gallant essentially said, it's not my job to motivate him. They were like, Gerard, like, what are you going to do? And Gallant was like, it's not my job to get them to play hockey. It's not my job to get them to care. And I just remember I was on Cofield show again and I lost my mind. I was like, if it's not your job, then whose is it? And what are you getting paid for? Right. And that is the words. If you're reading between the lines, this all goes back to he's a player's coach. And you have players coaches and you have coaches, and that's what it comes down to. Gallant was Gallant, and that's the story.
Well, and not only that, but you mentioned that, and I know, Alex, you were asking about what are some of the storylines and things like that. Obviously, Pete DeBoer coming in is a huge storyline. Gerard Gallant took a team that was an expansion club all the way to the Stanley Cup final his first season. Then the second year, they're playing the San Jose Sharks. They're about to wrap up that series. They get a 5-minute major, which in Vegas is known as not a major because it should have never been a penalty. Maybe a 2-minute if it was even that. I don't even think it was that. And all of a sudden, Pete DeBoer and the San Jose Sharks knocked them out of the playoffs. Then, towards the point in the season, all of a sudden, Kelly McCrimmon and George McPhee say, you know what? They're going on a road trip. We need to make a change. We need to do a lot of different things here. We're not only getting rid of Gerard Gallant, we're bringing in Pete DeBoer, the coach that everybody hates in this town, the one that knocked them out. We're bringing him in, and we're going to make some other changes too. We're bringing in an Alec Martinez. Remember, Nick Hague was playing at first, and Derek England was still playing a lot of minutes. Pete DeBoer didn't have the loyalty to them that Gerard Gallant does. All of a sudden, we see Zach Whitecloud in the lineup. Pete DeBoer is going to put in whoever he thinks gives them the best chance to win hockey games, period, because his role and his goal is to win a Stanley Cup, or he could get fired as well. So there's a lot of pressure on people. Nick Waugh comes in. He has a tremendous season right now. We've seen players come. We've seen players go. DeBoer's a huge change. Some of these other guys are there. And again, the big thing, when they brought in Robin Lehner, and then that was a huge piece to them. But would Robin Lehner have fit if Dave Pryor was still the goaltender coach, the goalie whisperer, if we know him? He likes athletic goaltenders. He's one of the big reasons, if not the reason, they brought in Malcolm Subban in season 1. He was still convinced that he could be a starting goaltender. Now he can't get off the bench in Chicago. The only chance that he had to play in that series, a lot of people believe, is because Corey Crawford had COVID-19 going into the playoffs, but then he got healthy just in time to get there. So there's a lot of different lines. And you have Alec Martinez, who has won Stanley Cups. He's in there. You have a guy like Cousins that they bring in. They brought in a lot of different pieces, and there's a lot of different things there. I think one of the most interesting things is that the guy that was in Chicago that was let go, who was a finalist for the Vezina Trophy last year for crying out loud as an Islander goalie, can't find a home, and now he's trying to find one in Vegas. There's a chance he could help the Vegas Golden Knights win a Stanley Cup and still not be on the club next year.
Yeah, and as we're talking about this and we're going through it, it doesn't get mentioned enough. The gumption and, frankly, the balls that McPhee and that front office has had almost since the inception of this team, from Tatar and making moves and offloading and getting rid of your coach and getting rid of, integral pieces of your franchise. Within a franchise that went to the Stanley Cup in year 1, I don't want to say it's not a fire sale, but you have drastically shifted the look of this team in just 3 years at different points with no regard to fan reception. And now we sit here with potentially the best team in hockey sitting in the Valley. I mean, it's a pretty impressive sort of thing to reflect on. Obviously, there's still work to be done, but that's sort of fearless leadership. I mean, it's either fearless or stupid, right? Like, it either goes one of two ways. Right now, it's looking pretty good. It's looking fearless. And yeah, it's just that is going to be an interesting narrative to follow to see if they continue to do that.
Yeah, how about this one, guys? VGK rides Leonard deep into the playoffs. What are the odds they trade Marc-Andre Fleury? Well, there's one little problem, right, Brady? I think we all know that was a rich-ass contract that Math signed. Can they move him at this age?
I think it'd be extremely difficult to move him because of that contract and his age, that combination.
Yeah, Frank's 100% spot on with that. There's just, the Knights would have to eat something. I don't know what, but we talked about it when that deal went through. That was a tip of the cap to Fleury for year 1. That was, hey, thank you very much for being an ambassador, for giving us more than we ever thought we would get. We were doing right by you. That was a fan move by an organization who hasn't made a lot of fan moves.
Hey, let's transition real quick. Frank, we're going to let you go in about 5 because it's late for all of us, and we appreciate the time. And now the more I think about it, we definitely have to talk off the air about doing more of these, so I got to see how much time you have. And Adam Hill's going to join us in a little bit. But I want to ask Frank, man, the Big Ten canceling today, especially Ohio State. Like, I just, the stuff you read, the stuff you hear, I don't know exactly what happened, and I don't even know what the right thing to do is right now, but Jesus, God almighty, as a guy who follows Ohio State, this is massive. This is, and if Ohio State football has to watch Clemson and Alabama and LSU and Oklahoma and Texas play a season, the Buckeye fans are going to go crazy.
Oh, they're absolutely going to lose their mind. I completely agree with you on that. I think their thought process is, and I can't speak for them because I don't know for sure, obviously, but I think they're just assuming that everybody's going to kind of take this same step. We saw a couple smaller conferences do it, and they wanted to step right in line. They've done it. The Pac-12's doing it. I think they're just assuming that the other ones are going to do it as well. That could be a dangerous, slippery slope that they're on right now. If everybody doesn't play, then you don't have to worry because you have nobody to play anyhow. I know they said that they're looking at possibly playing spring football. Well, you can't play spring football if somebody else has already played fall football and they've crowned a champion. And if you do play spring football, how many games do you get? How does it affect the travel, the other sports that are going on? There's so many different factors to it. As an Ohio State Buckeye fan, I'm very saddened by this. As much as I hate to see college football go away, I'm kind of hoping that they're rolling the dice and it pays off for them, that the other teams do it. Because if they are sitting on the sidelines and all the other conferences, or at least the other Big Five conferences, do end up playing football, that's going to be tough for them to explain. Obviously, it's not their choice. It's a Big Ten choice. But knowing Ohio State, it wouldn't even surprise me if they don't try to do something just completely out of the ballpark and try to sue the Big Ten or something and say, the hell with it, we're going to play some of these other schools anyhow, because they're that powerful. They are that powerful, and their ego's also that big potentially.
So Frank's helping us out by doing a bunch of these late night happy hours. He's also doing terrestrial radio again, which is really cool. Are you back this Friday? When's your next slot on 1400 filling in for TC Martin?
Yeah, well, I was going to fill in this week for TC, but TC's actually in town, but now he's actually asked me to guest host with him, so I will be on 2 to 3 with TC this Friday. I also did something with Alan Schnell on LV Sports Biz, so trying to keep my name out there, filling with doing some stuff with Brian Blessing once in a while as well, so just trying to get out there and still cover all the sports. I mean, obviously I focus on hockey, but you guys know, I mean, I love the MMA, I love boxing, I love baseball, football, basketball. You know, if there's something going on, hell, I think I know more about rugby and Australian rules football than I ever have before, and even Korean baseball, which they actually finally have a couple fans in the stand again. But, you know, if it's on and I can't sleep, which is very frequent, I'm up trying to do stuff.
All right, Frank, I'll reach out to you tomorrow about possibly doing a Game 2 post, okay?
Sounds great. Thanks a lot. Always a pleasure, and have a good rest of your show, and look forward to talking to you guys again down the road.
Nice to meet you, Frank.
He's the best.
Frank's a sports junkie.
He's ridiculous. He's
oh my
dude.
He's
Been in this market for almost 30 years, and he's one of the voices of hockey, no doubt. All right, Big Mac. I know this is a passionate topic for you, and I saw a lot of pushback today about college football conferences starting to cancel the fall season. Yeah. And again,
Big
we're getting
Mac, you're pushing back on that?
No, he's for it. He's pushing back against the pushback. Because we're seeing a lot of anti-science. We're seeing a lot of anti-doctors. Yeah. Listen, I might question the timing of this, but I don't like. I saw a lot of reaction from people like, "What changed in the last week?" A lot has changed. Things change every goddamn day with this virus.
Nothing changed. We've been watching numbers spike across the country. If you wanted to have football 3-4 months ago, you should have stayed indoors for 6 to 8 weeks and wore masks, right? But we opened back up for Memorial Day, and then we opened back up for July 4th, and here we sit. Now we're opening schools back up, and there's going to be more spikes, and you're not going to have football. There are consequences to our actions. And I'm not soapboxing. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I'm from South Bend. I love Notre Dame arguably more than any other team. As you look, I mean, my cubbies here of all the different sports memorabilia and random shit that I have. Like, I love sports, man. I love Notre Dame. I love South Bend. 574. I still have a 574 area code. I want college football, right? My issue is a few different like prongs of the tree or branches of the tree, right? First off, I really don't like, and Alex, I don't think we've had a chance to talk about it. I really don't like the NCAA a lot, right?
I don't either.
Okay, good, great. So we can bond over that. Yes, 100%. Right.
This to me presented a chance, or still does present a chance to tear them down and restructure.
Yes, 100%. That could be the silver lining here. Yeah. The great consequence of what we're living could be the death of the NCAA as we know it, and that would be great because let me explain something to you. And not you, Alex, the listeners. The NCAA is a $1 billion year corporation, billions of dollars. And the majority of those billions are built on the backs of young football players. All NCAA had to do was implement stringent protocols, a bubble, pay for it, right? And put forth some sort of planning and some sort of focus to give us football and basketball. They don't want to do that because it would cut into their bottom dollar too much. It would take away some of those billions, and it's just not cost effective. Well, you don't have 90,000 Southern, Roll Tide fans in the stands and the merch and the food sales, right? So it becomes a bottom dollar decision. So as you've dedicated, in my case, I'm 36, so let's be fair. 27 years of my life as a diehard college football fan for Notre Dame and traveled to UCLA, to USC, to Phoenix, to Florida, to Ann Arbor, and obviously plenty of games in South Bend, right? Merchandise, yada, 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 right? 27 years of dedication. And the 1 year I fucking need you to have my back and to do something right and to go out and to take the protocol and the safety of the athletes and give one back to the fans for the billions we've given you. They absolutely shaft us as the fans, and they shaft the players. And to make it even worse, Alex, you've got the SEC and the ACC kind of holding out. Like, well, I don't know, Pac-12, Big Ten, we're going to wait for our doctors. No, dummies, you can't do this, and you can't do it in anything other than a bubble. You certainly can't do it with college students. That's laughable. Oh. And here's the other thing. If you think the NFL is any different, Alex, like if you think the NFL is any different than a bunch of college kids, which it essentially is, and they also, we're talking about a non-bubble, right? You're talking about guys who have willingly set aside the safety of their future. They know how dangerous football is. We all love football. I'm not talking shit on football. I'm just saying football players are a different breed, especially in the post CTE era. They know what they're risking. So in terms of safety, NFL players don't really give a shit. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're trying to assume that NFL players, right, are going to put their team first or put safety first and not operate in a bubble, and you think you're getting an NFL season with grown-up college kids like that in the NFL, you're tripping. If you think the Miami Marlins and Major League Baseball was bad, wait until we get, and I'm not even talking about the start. I fully believe the first month of the season will be all right because teams will be adjusting. They'll, you know what I mean? They'll think they have something to play for. But once teams start falling out, they're going to want to start partying. They're going to be 4 months into their proverbial bubble at home, and they're going to want to start, doing what they do. Anyway, it's, I know I went long there. I tied in obviously pro football and college football, but it is a whole cluster bleep. And I'm sitting back and I'm watching people talk about the NCAA, and it sucks, right? But wait until you get the news about the NFL, because that's the hammer I'm waiting to drop, because I just don't see, without responsible adult-like protocols of people actually in the room with plans and thoughts of their own, because everyone is being reactionary. Everyone's waiting till the last minute and then being like, oh, shit, we got to cancel. Like, duh, why didn't you get ahead of this? We've had months, people. Sorry.
Well, the NCAA was like, they're like out of this conversation. The conferences are deciding on their own. And we're talking about silver linings coming out of this, potentially the NCAA being abolished, which would be great, or restructured, or reformed, or defunded. Yes. At the very least, another positive could be not just in the COVID era, but with medical issues in general. With medical issues in general, it could be to have a third party, like a medical observer, or a third party, just a third party health and safety and medical protocol that is continuous, that is continuity through all the conferences. Because right now it's all over the board, and it has been. And of all the players' demands, that was the one that was like, duh. Yeah, the players, because even in the Pac-12, I'm a big Pac-12 fan. I went to Oregon State. I'm a big Oregon State fan. Actually, we have some history with Notre Dame. 2001 Fiesta Bowl comes to mind.
I have some history with you. My wife went to Oregon State, and I went up and hijacked her in Corvallis 12 years ago.
Wow.
So, yeah, we never even talked about that. And you know what? As we talk about leaving it up to the conferences, this is hilarious, because that's essentially what we've done in America for 4 months. We left it up to the SEC and the ACC. Check out how that shit worked out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just funny because even in the Pac-12, Arizona schools, U of A and ASU, located in the two cesspools of bacteria that are Tucson and Tempe, Arizona, they're starting school in person in, I think, like 10 days. And then the UC schools announced months ago they're virtual for fall. And the Oregon schools just announced kind of like a hybrid, like you could be on campus, but it's going to be more. And so no one
knows what they're doing, man.
Exactly, dude.
They have no idea.
And so, like, even just to make it equivalent to our country, just to compare it to our country, the lack of leadership at the NCAA has just been silent. And here's the thing for me. I know that the right call that makes sense based on medical advice is probably not to have the season. But I do think that they could have figured out a way to have it with the money, because you're talking about money, right? And an investment. And that's what we've seen with the NBA and even with baseball without the bubble still has doing major testing to keep things dialed in, right? Like they're spending millions of dollars on tests. NCAA, if they were serious about having a season, they could have done a handful of things. The 2 or 3 major ones being, one, implementing continuity with medical professional advice. 2, acquiescing to some of the players' demands, not all, just some of the players' demands. And then 3, shelling out some money for tests because, to quote actually Colin Cowherd, he said there's a lot more Ohio States than Oregon States. He tweeted that the other day in terms of budgets for athletic departments. So that's why it's not going to happen because of the money. And I was like, and Colin Cowherd, hot take guy, right? Sometimes wrong, other times, used to be in Vegas. But I was like, damn, that's so true. Because Oregon State doesn't have the money to pay for all those tests. But USC does. Oregon does.
Well, it's a collective effort. It's to save the season. The $1 billion people get together with the $1 million people and you figure the shit out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. Alex, because I've been talking about this a lot with friends and family. And I've been thinking about, and you're absolutely right, Left Coast Mike, that's 100% exactly what happened. Left Coast Mike saying 5 freaking months and they sat back watching twiddling their thumbs. And this week they're surprised. Exactly. Here's the thing. As we talk about, we're suddenly surprised now. Let's think a little bit into the future. I'm a firm believer that the NBA bubble and the NHL bubble are working because you essentially have, and hi, Adam Hill, you essentially have a situation where you're selling to the players a championship chase, right? Hey, come to the bubble. You're close to the playoffs or you're already in. You got 4 months and you're chasing a championship. This will not work in a bubble for a full season. There is no way you are getting NBA players, NHL players, or in my opinion, NFL players to sign up for a full bubble season where they've got to go for 5, 6, 7 months, not being able to see their friends and family, not being outside a fake pond and a water slide in Orlando with, room service or whatever the case may be. If this doesn't get under control, and if we don't have a vaccine and we keep sending kids back to school and bringing the shit home, what I'm saying is we might be watching sports for the last time for a little while because I don't know if it gets ramped up in a bubble like that.
Yeah, well, just to your point, Big Mac, it's easy for the Clippers, the Bucks, the Lakers, the Blazers to say, yeah, I'm going to put stuff aside and chase this title, chase this ring. We've got a shot. But UNLV football, Oregon State football, Washington State football, these teams that are maybe trying to get to the Sun Bowl or, enter your cheesy, sponsor here with the bowl game. How do you keep or even think about the Lions or the Cardinals are like a team that's going to be middle of the road.
Or the team that has Mitch Trubisky as their starting quarterback because, they wanted to trade up one spot and not get Pat Mahomes with that pick.
Listen, I mean, I joked about people assuming that baseball players weren't getting laid. And that's why they didn't have to be in a bubble. That's obviously not true. Pro athletes have no problem. But college kids, listen, my good friend, used to be the director of recruiting at USC. And he was telling me yesterday, we were talking about this, telling me how they had to have armed security, the armed part doesn't matter. They had security on each hotel floor when they played home and away games to make sure those guys weren't sneaking chicks up to the room the night before game day. Now, you think that without security during the regular weekdays, when college is in session during COVID, those guys aren't going to be sleeping around and hanging out with jersey chasers and spreading this goddamn disease. It's like you can't stop college kids from having sex.
Alex, I want to listen to you, but Adam Hill's nose hair is just
I know.
So distracting. What is your
angle, Adam?
My bracket, the bracket I use broke, so I'm just trying to rig something up, but it has to face upwards. So I can stand, I guess. Do that, and then I'm kind of on.
Why is everything so messed up with you, man?
I don't know. I have no idea. Exactly.
He is a busy man.
It's true.
I was just saying. I was just tweeting.
Tigers.
I meant to say Jesus. Oh my God, cut me from the show.
I was just tweeting in our text group. It's crazy to think, Adam. It seems like just yesterday that you were getting tear gassed and basically witnessing a murder in Vegas. That feels like 5. Yeah, it feels like 5 years ago. It was like 2 months ago. This 2020 is just what a trip, buddy.
The blisters just barely went away.
Wait, what happened?
It was a whole thing.
I was covering protests on the Strip. What is that?
That was the size of the blister, man.
I was covering the protests I was covering the protests on the Strip, and I wasn't planning on covering it that night. I was planning on not going into the office at all, and then I got called in to cover it. So I had shoes that did not fit, and it was just a bad move. And then they were like, "Can you go cover the protest?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. What am I going to stand there and watch protests for a couple hours?" Turned out we marched with them, like around 12 miles.
You're embedded, bro.
I developed like the worst blisters. They were horrific. I think Ryan saw a picture. It was disgusting. And then at the end of the night, we had to freaking sprint because we watched a kid get shot.
Oh my god.
And he's dead, which is obviously tragic and awful. But yeah, and then we had to sprint away from it.
I don't know why I'm laughing.
The police did.
Police shot.
It was the setup, and he's dead, and that's obviously tragic.
I don't know how much I can comment on it because I'm not an official witness, and I think the case is still going. He had a gun, for no reason. He was carrying a gun, like a long gun. And to me, what it looked like, again, this is just me. I'm just telling you what I saw. The cops shot him with rubber bullets to try to like tranquilize him a little bit. And then so he pulled out the gun to try to fire back, and then they lit him up.
Yeah. I'm gonna refrain from giving my statement, but that's a gnarly situation, as we say here.
Well, it was kind of broadcast live on this show, by the way.
Jesus.
Yeah. Adam was actually on. All of a sudden, we heard pop, 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 and he was like,
"Oh my god,
that didn't sound like fireworks." Now, just so you know, because Alex isn't familiar with the story, that was also it was an awful night. A protester, should I say it? Can't say that, right?
No, he wasn't part of the protest.
No, he was just.
I didn't even get it out of my mouth yet. It was
sorry.
I know what triggers you. We had an officer shot and paralyzed that night as well.
Oh wow!
On a different part of the Strip, some asshole walked up to him and ambushed him. So that was that was not
Alex,
a good night.
The official story from in the police report, what the kid's story was, there's a motel. I don't know how familiar you are with the Strip. There's a motel right next to Circus.
Okay.
And he was, I believe, 20, and his girlfriend was 15.
Okay.
And the mother, again, I could be wrong on this. I don't have the police report in front of me. The mother of this kid would not let him bring the girlfriend to their house. So he got a room at this motel with his young girlfriend. And then the protests were going on outside, and he was very annoyed by how loud the protests and the police were. Again, I'm not saying this is fact. I'm saying this is what the police report said.
This is allegedly.
He stepped outside and was like, "What the hell's going on?" And then decided to fire a gun into the crowd, and it hit a cop, and then he's in awful condition still. Just a fucking douchebag of a thing to do, obviously. Just a piece of garbage.
Jesus.
But that happened like 20 minutes before the incident we just described. So, I mean, it was a crazy night. And that was kind of like everything was building up for like the first, few nights. And then after that, it kind of toned down because I think people were like, okay, this got a little too real fast.
And mind you, this all happened on the happy hour, which I don't know how this show hasn't gotten an award yet, or at least Adam, because that happened. This is like CNN. We got live reporting on the ground. I mean, it was great, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, I mean, not great, but you get what I'm saying. It was very informative and very memorable. But also, that was probably the most memorable moment of the year, right up until the moment where Adam came on the stream down in Florida during the first UFC. And we can talk about this, right?
Well, it's false. So yeah.
Right. But we didn't know it was false at the time. He got a false positive for COVID. So he comes on the stream and he's like, "Hey,
false positive for antibodies."
Whatever.
That's very different.
Well, anyway, so he comes on the stream, tells us they all had COVID. I freak out because I've been around the dude for like months, and he's like, "Oh, I got the antibodies. It means I'm good, bro. I'm immune to it." And I'm like, "You don't know what this does long term." And anyway, it just turned into this whole thing. It was very high intensity. But yeah, Adam Hill brings the goods. So what do you got for us tonight, Adam?
I don't know. I just like that you're lobbying for an award for us when last night we were just making up fat names for a basketball player that drove to the rim. Like,
well, I mean,
it's not exactly an award-winning show.
Well, I mean, it keeps you laughing. It keeps you crying. You hear gunshots and you're scared. I was scared when you said you had COVID. I mean, it's a roller coaster of emotions. And honestly, Adam, I think that's what makes up a good show. Personality, memories, character.
By the way, I'm taking 2 tests tomorrow, by the way.
Sorry. You're taking 2 tests?
Yeah. Today was 19. Tomorrow will be 20 and 21.
Of COVID?
Yeah.
Or
he's
like the
SAT. It's Alex. He's covering the UFC, so he has to do a bunch.
I have to take a daily one at Raiders camp. and UFC is this week, so I got to go take my Raiders test in the morning, and then go take my UFC one in the afternoon.
Chuck Persons, that's good. I didn't even see that. I like it.
Extra
fat.
I heard Larry. How about Larry Johnsonville Brat?
How pissed were you last night when you put together Steph Curry? I mean, it's right there.
Steph Curry.
It's
so
Curry.
Easy.
Oh, it's like food puns of NBA players.
No, yes, because there was a fat kid that like went to the rim in a pickup
I'm getting
game.
it. I'm getting
Okay. And so we started making up names. The best one I heard was Bread O'Bannon is so perfect.
Oh my God, dude.
I had Carbello Anthony today.
I'm so bad, man. All I could think of was Jimmy Butler and somehow to equate Butler to service and food, and I'm a fucking idiot. I was like, Jimmy Butler, Jimmy, and I'm like, you're so stupid.
Jimmy Butler brings me room service.
Yeah, I'm an idiot.
I'm sad that Mahfoud Abdul Rauf didn't get better. Like I felt that was pretty good.
That is good.
Yeah, I'm slow at this kind of. I need to like sit and really think.
There's so many good ones.
Because you either can do it or you can't. Because I really sat and thought, and I'm an idiot. I am not creative. I couldn't come up with anything. And I love food and the NBA. Bullshit.
Sad.
It is. Thank you. I agree with Adam. Look at his face. He's so genuinely happy. I hate that. I hate that face. I hate it slightly less now that I don't see it as much.
That's true.
It might be a good time actually to transition into some food.
I think Steve
talk.
was gonna.
Sorry, Steve. No, Steve. You have something.
This equates to food. Yeah.
What do you got, Cofield?
Yeah, producer Steve.
You got some food stuff for us, or?
Well, I just wanted to see. I wanted you to see Big Fella. So.
I would like to see it.
Yeah, let me punch him up here. He's.
Speaking of which,
we were estimating about 5'11", 375. Really. Thick trunk, as we put it.
I probably watched this video 100 times today. By the way, I love this kid.
Got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here he is, big fella.
Oh shit!
Oh, that guy's big.
Yeah.
Clear it out.
Let's get some sound here.
Robert Tractor Trailer.
Oh,
Ginger.
R.I.P.
Now,
Yeah.
do you flop? Do you flop here and take the charge? Because this is the problem with this defender.
Every
By the way,
time.
we never pointed out last night. Those are what are they called? Are they AirPods? What are those things? The white things in his ears?
Oh, he's playing with AirPods.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got that new Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion in his ears.
Wop.
That's fucked up. Come on. That is the cheapest shit I've ever seen. I'm taking the charge every time.
No, he's not. He's not vertical though. He never got vertical. He was always in a bad defensive position. And I'll tell you right now, we said it last night. I'd have called out of bounds. He went way out.
I actually respect the big boys' moves because there are ways to stop that. You just don't. I mean, you tire him out. Like whoever's guarding him, if it's guard who guards you, which it typically is in a full court, tire that dude out. Like he shouldn't have that much energy under the hoop. There's ways to tire out the big dude. I respect him for taking advantage of the situation.
I think it's a half court.
Or the big dude.
Oh, it's half court. Okay, then throw all the rules out on that. If it's half court.
First of all, both of us are big, Adam and myself. I've been big my whole life. Adam's been at least tall big his whole life. I've been wide big my whole life. I know how to throw my size around. And the way to beat size is quickness. Go with the hands. Go with the ball. Slap the titties. Get in there. Get in inside work.
Dude, you're so wrong. He did a good job. I mean, his dribble was broke, but he did a good job shielding. Like you're not getting around him to get the ball.
There wasn't shielding. Those were fouls. Those were teased. That was not that.
No, he shielded. He shielded off the defender. How are you getting to the ball?
I actually got to give all credit to the fat kid here. I really think that he dialed this in because I've played hoops against. I'm a smaller guy comparatively, and when you get a fat guy like that, there's ways to stop him. And these guys didn't do it, and he just went to work.
Well,
Way out of bounds.
That is out of bounds. That's a great point. Why the rules are. I mean, ball and
that's
foot.
out of bounds.
Yeah, I mean, he's way underneath the rim. That's a great point. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
good luck.
Fouls.
Good luck getting around him to get the ball, though.
That's true. I was saying he should get inside and slap, but he look at the circumference. There's no.
Oh, you can't get around that, bro. You cannot circumvent that. Okay. Speaking of food,
ice cream Elijah one.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Hershey Hawkins was good. Ham Perkins. Now you're just looking for dudes named Sam, Ari.
No,
Ham Perkins. Ham Cassell.
But he already took it because I had ham at a bio last night, which is the perfect one.
Chris Muffins is pretty good. I'm kind of pissed I didn't think of it. But I can't think of anything, so whatever.
Is it too cliche to do wings talk on a late night sports radio show?
No, we do talk wings all the time.
I know, but is it overkill?
I gotta jump in. I'm not the content director. I'm just a producer. But to me, what was the most intriguing thing you were talking about with the chicken was the Korean fried chicken, especially because our friends Von Tobel went to a Korean barbecue the other night. Holy Christ. What was going on? Explain to the audience, Big Mac, and to Alex, and I think Adam was on there, like what was going on with the Korean joint, and then we can transition because I am fascinated by Korean fried chicken, but like the Korean barbecue is not a big deal. But JVT was like friggin' melting down.
It was weird. First of all, he asked for recommendations, and we gave him recommendations, and he followed up on one of those recommendations, and he went to the place. Here's the issue with JVT is he has a very dry sense of humor, and he's very sarcastic. So I don't always know what's translating in text, right? So this juncture, as we're texting back and forth once he's at the Korean barbecue spot, Adam, I think he's messing with me. So when he asked me, how do I cook the shrimp? I thought he was being a smartass. Like I wasn't even going to answer him. And then he's like, you left me hanging on the shrimp. I didn't know what to do. I was like, John, you cook the shrimp. They give you raw shrimp and you put it on the grill. The issue I had with this, Alex, is JVT likes to liken himself a worldly individual, a cultured individual. Like, for instance, I the other day said how much I loved Juan's Flaming Fajitas. Great Mexican spot here in Vegas. Love Juan's.
Sounds delicious.
JVT laughed at me, said it was white people's Mexican food and questioned my taste in food. Meanwhile, this guy's
I think I said the white people. I love Juan's too, but it is a very white people Mexican.
No, JVT said it was white people Mexican, and you backed it up and said,
I love Juan's, but it absolutely is white people Mexican.
It is.
Like,
there's nothing wrong with white people Mexican food. There's nothing wrong with white people.
I love Juan's, but like Desnudo was Mexican.
Okay.
And it was amazing.
Mexicans love white people Mexican too.
Exactly. So you know. I was gonna say, and if I'm going to a taqueria, I'll go to like Taco y Taco. Like that's my taqueria spot. But it's beside the point.
What the fuck did you just say?
Taqueria.
You're from Indiana, bro.
No, that's what
you doing?
I'm rolling my R's, man. I'm trying to become more cultured than JVT.
That is such a thing. The white guy that tries to order Mexican food authentically. He's like, hey, how's it going? Can my family and I get some guacamole? Like,
you would say it so quick that you wouldn't know what you were saying.
It's a white guy flex. It's a white guy flex.
That would be the real white. Exactly.
You know, McKinnell, after John's comment about Juan's being a white guy place, like McKinnell's been sitting in front of the mirror, just fucking trying to roll his R's, just trying to be as authentic as possible. You've been gotten, man. You can't get out of this now, but learning how to pronounce a couple of words.
I'm like LeBron on Taco Tuesday. No, so he asked about the shrimp, and I tried to inform him that you just cooked the shrimp, JVT, and then I went back to Juan's and I got judgmental. You know, how can you judge me for liking Juan's when you don't even know how to cook shrimp at a Korean barbecue spot?
It was his first time. Hold on. Korean barbecue can be confusing your first time. Are you saying you walked in the first time and like, I got this?
Yeah. It's a steel.
No, they help you.
It gets hot and they give you raw food. Raw food, steel grate. Raw food, steel grate. You cook the fucking food on the steel grate. It is literally the easiest A to B connection outside of like going to a gas station and parking next to a gas pump.
You figure it out. You figure it out, right? There's a grill and
also,
there's meat.
JVT is like 30 and he's never been to Korean barbecue. Bro, you live in Vegas. Like we have so much delicious Korean barbecue. What took you so long? And I know I also partly blame you two. You guys have known JVT for years. You never like showed him the wonders of Korean barbecue?
Decide where he eats?
By the way, that guy does not want to hang out with us. We've barely broken bread with him. And it brings up the point. and I don't know what you have because Orange County is pretty freaking white. Do you have like an Asian area there where you know, a concentration of Asian restaurants? Because we
some
do
respect on Orange County's name, bro.
I'm going to in a second. We do. Ryan, you have to realize there are a lot of people who drive up and down Spring Mountain and you know, through that area, through Chinatown, and never stop because they're intimidated. They're freaked out, which like you and I laugh at, but that's just the way it is. Like, I don't know what it's like in Orange County, Alex, but do you guys have a slew of freaking Asian restaurants in the OC?
Yeah. Put Razorback Scoop comment up in here. Garden Grove, we've got Little Saigon, largest concentration of Vietnamese people outside of the country of Vietnam. Also, we've got up in LA, we have Koreatown. You know, it's about an hour away, but
I said Orange County. I know.
In OC, there's actually a pretty strong Korean community in both Garden Grove and in Buena Park, and also Orange County.
By the way, I've been to Garden Grove, and I had an emergency shop, and I was at I think I had to buy, like, believe it or not, on the road for a remote. I had to buy like a 6-foot table for a show, and I walked into Costco and around Walmart, and I'm like, man, this is very Asian here. Like, I wasn't mad, but I was like, God damn. And then immediately I'm in the car. I'm like, Asian population of Garden Grove. Okay.
OC has this white reputation because of television. OC has this white reputation because of the OC, Laguna Hills, Laguna Beach, all this stuff. But in fact, we are actually an extremely diverse county. We have a huge Latino population. Santa Ana is like 72% Latino, the largest Latino population of any major city in the U.S. And we have a huge Asian population. So you could get it all here. It's a lot of strip malls.
None of those people you just mentioned dare walk down in the main hub of Huntington Beach, based on what I saw in those fucking videos.
Oh God, Huntington Beach is just. Jeez. I mean, Huntington Beach is
more Huntington Beach and OC Beach Bros tatted up like everyone's Tito Ortiz just looking to fight.
Bro, it's the worst.
Put some respect on the future mayor's name.
No, man. Oh, man. OC, that one comment from Mark and LV about OC Republicans driving out the immigrants, that's real. There's like groups here that meet. Like, there's like it's just, OC is to me why I do like it. Why I like, even though I hate it, I still live here, is it's like a microcosm of America as a whole, because you've just got it all. And
God, I hope that's not true.
I'm pretty sure American History X was based in Southern California. So growing up in Indiana, I always thought Southern California was more racist than Indiana because, well, I mean,
nothing's more racist than Indiana.
Well, you're right. As it's been proven in 2020.
American History X was supposed to take place at Venice High School up in LA, but actually the guy who wrote it went to my high school, Newport Harbor High School in Newport Beach. So
look at that. I didn't even know about the connection.
Name drop, humble brag.
Where was Alpha Dog?
Alpha Dog. I feel like Alpha Dog was like Palm Springs.
That's the end. No, they take him to Palm Springs. It's not where they kidnapped him from, though.
Where do they kidnap him from in Alpha Dog?
He only likes it because JT. That's the only reason he gives a shit about that movie.
JT was great in that movie.
In sync Stan over there.
Yeah. No, they kidnapped the kid and took him to Palm Springs. Like, that's where they were hiding him. I feel like it was in OC somewhere, but I could be wrong about that. It was based on a real story.
I just want you guys to know I get super amped up for OC talk. Like, I love it because down here, because everything's LA. When people want to talk SoCal, it's LA. And then then people have this assumption. So, and if anybody ever asks me, oh, is Orange County diverse? I light up. So thank you for baiting me with that topic.
San Gabriel Valley, by the way.
Oh, SGV.
So very different.
Not the real valley, as I've been lectured many times.
Yeah.
If you say which valley, the SO is like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Which valley?
Okay,
so one. San Fernando Valley. God damn it.
So back to K Barbecue. I am perplexed. That JVT didn't know what to do. Like, it's just.
I think he was just overwhelmed. Remember, Adam, he first sent a picture of all the kimchi stuff. He's like, what is all this?
Well, before he went, he was asking most of those questions before he went.
Yeah.
He hadn't gotten there yet. And he was like, what is it? You cook your own food? That seems kind of weird, which I would agree with him. Before you've ever gone and you're like, you cook your own food? Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Then
you see it, you learn it, and then you're like, okay. And I think he was trolling a little bit with the
Yeah.
You know, the first one, he's like, what the hell is all this? But then the shrimp, like, because the shrimp was like, he was like, you have to peel it first. You got to devein it. Like, what are we trying to do here? Like, he was just confused on the seafood end, I think.
I mean, yeah, I love Korean barbecue. Once I discovered the joys, I think there's something special about paying to go to a place to cook your own food instead of doing it at home. There's just something great about that.
Here's the other thing: we tip a little less if you cook your own food, right? I mean, just a little. I mean,
no.
Come on, Adam, man, don't be a dick. You always tip too much. You tip like 30%.
By the way, do you want to guess on my haircut today was 25? You want to guess on the tip?
Probably because you're an asshole. 50 even.
It's 30.
Oh, are you a bad
30.
tipper?
No, I was 30. Yeah.
So you tip 55 total?
Yeah.
You tipped more than the haircut? You didn't even make it an even 50? You went above the even 50?
That's cheap. That's a cheap haircut.
Is that a regular? It's not a cheap haircut. Is that a regular spot you go to?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have a spot right down Silverado that you should go to.
Okay.
Yeah. So next time you go.
You ruin it. You ruin it for the rest of us, Adam. And when I go
they weren't allowed to work. They weren't allowed to work for like 3 months.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. And I do all my own, as you can tell. So
this guy's not spending a lot of time at the barbershop.
Yeah. That's a great point, Martin. But he just, yeah.
Martin.
He said Martin.
He was staff cooking all his food.
Yeah, I mean, he is Vegas royalty, but it's that he's just taking these personal attacks at my palate and question my love of wands. And I mean, I get real defensive of wands. I once ate at wands 5 times in a 7-day span. Because not used to be, it still is. But when I was over at Lotus, it was right by the station. I used to corral anybody I could to go over there. It's a special place. The queso dip, salsa.
We had one guy at the station that they literally knew his order when he walked in, and they called him. I was about to say his name. I don't want to give it away. It's actually his birthday today. But they called him queso blank. Yeah, they're just like, oh, the queso. The queso is so good there, and he would order it every day.
I hate snobs, man. I hate food snobs. I hate wine snobs. I hate beer snobs. And I like good beer.
What's your opinion on weed snobs?
I don't really like weed snobs. I know that's you, Big Mac. I know you're probably the guy.
Just give me the bag, man.
Yes, he is.
Whatever gets the job done.
I like knowing.
I like it all.
Dude,
I like knowing.
Dude, I sat down with you and I was trying to get you a job at a dispensary. You'd be a brilliant bud tender. Yes. And you're like, and you like the place we had the hookup at, you're like, I don't know. I don't like their product that much. I'm like, it's a job.
Very substandard. I couldn't sell a substandard like, weed.
Gives a shit. They all sell the same stuff.
Yeah.
Smoking it. I'm not talking about selling it.
No, I think Big Mac is kind of a snob, and that's not. I don't mean that in a judgy way. I just mean I look at your background and I can tell you collect things.
Yeah, I know what I like.
My friends that
collect. I know what I like, Alex.
No, my friends whose homes look like yours, like they have their things framed and their figurines. Those are my friends that are like, oh, this is a $60 bottle from this vineyard from blah 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 in this year, and and I'm stoked. But then I bring a cheap bottle. And they're like, no, we won't drink that tonight. I'm like, okay, there's a place for both, bro. There's a place for both.
No, I'm not like that. I have $140 bottle Hibiki Centauri whiskey, but I will also slam a White Claw with you. I mean, I'm not going to smoke swag. Like if your weed has seeds in it, like I'm not like let's not get carried away. Like I'm not going to like do anything with brickweed. But no, I mean, yeah, let's party. It's 2020. We're in a pandemic. Also, that's the other thing. No more sharing. I don't have to share ever again for the rest of my life. That whole era of green medicine is over.
Do you think that they have made weed too good?
No.
Like, do you think because I long for like the late 60s to 70s bushweed era.
Oh yeah, the Panama Red, the tie stick. You want to be like the old Vietnam?
That's more my vibe.
We had that Panama. No, kid, I'll take the dabs and the 90% THC and the edibles and the pens and I'll take the 2020 marijuana game. Thank you.
Okay.
Because I put up with everything else. That's the other thing is, 20 years ago, I was breaking up bags of swag until my fingers bled because there were seeds everywhere and you smoked one blunt and it gave you a headache for 45 minutes and then that was it and you passed out. No, I put in my time to enjoy the fruits of legalization and the end of prohibition in our wonderful state here in Nevada. I love you, Tick Seeger-Bloom. I love you, Nevada. Thank you, voters. Thank you.
Settle down.
Okay, so we talked about the K barbecue. We didn't talk about the Korean fried chicken. Although I'll just say this, as far as I know, not a snob, as far as I know, Korean fried chicken is just a very good version of fried chicken. I went to a place on Saturday that was a Korean fried chicken place. Very authentic because
KFC?
In a sense, yes. Literally, yes. But their name this is how I knew it was good. It was called Barbecue Chicken Korean Fried Chicken was the name of the restaurant. I'm like, okay, this place is legit.
Pretty
rolls off the tongue.
And then on their packaging, they said we currently have 2,500 stores worldwide, which I was like, oh, this is a lot. Like I've discovered like kind of a chain.
A lie.
What are you laughing?
Well, that can't be real.
No, it's real. It's like a big chain in Asia. And so Irvine in Orange County also has a huge Asian population. And I found this little shopping center, Irvine, where every restaurant and every shop is Asian. So I try to go once a week and try a different restaurant. Anyway, but they said we have 2,500 worldwide. Our goal is 50,000 by 2025. And I looked up, McDonald's has like 30,000 and KFC's like 25,000. I'm like, oh, so they want to have as many as McDonald's and KFC combined in 5 years, and it's on their bag of their to-go chicken, which blew my mind.
I will answer chaotic. Someone give Big Mac some indica. He's too excited on the sativa. Brother, this is me on indica. So imagine me on literally any other drug. Yeah, it's a nightmare. This is what makes me normal. And to everyone who says marijuana makes you slow or makes you uncoordinated or makes you not, yeah, well, we'll see about that. I'm kind of a living testament to that not being the case in any sort of way. Yes. Thank you, Naked City. It is all just fried chicken.
It's all just fried chicken, just like meat encasing is a sausage in every country. Yeah. I love sausage in every country.
Ryan, can we meet for a late night nosh? I have to actually run an errand tonight.
Yeah, sure. I think. Well,
I have to go to the used tire store and get a new tire.
Wait, Ryan, can you say Yantara? You're going to the Yantara?
Do that? Yeah, there
we go. Okay, wait, we should talk sports before you have. That was also mysterious. AF. That was super mysterious. You're like, I have to run a late night errand. Can you meet me? At the Yantaria?
I was being real.
Okay, so let's talk about Damian Lillard. Have you guys been watching him? Have you guys watched Dame at all?
Dame 61.
Bro, he's been going off. But as a Clippers fan, I wanted to bring this up because people are saying, oh, you shouldn't have pissed Dame off because in Saturday's game, he missed those last two free throws against the Clippers while Patrick Beverley was yelling Dame time while he shot him. Then afterwards was doing the Dame, wave goodbye. And then Paul George and P-Bev went on Instagram and talked some shit. And Dame, flipped his switch, whatever.
And
went
Skip
off.
Bayless.
He scored. And Skip Bayless talked his shit. And Dame scored, 111 points in the last two games. And the Blazers are going to go in the playoffs, most likely, or be in the play-in. They're in the play-in game against the Suns, right?
I think they still have to win another game.
They still have to win another game. Well, I think
they're
regardless.
They're a half game ahead of a three-way tie, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I think that no matter what, they still have to play in, right?
Yeah, because there's an 8-9 play-in.
Yeah, there's an 8-9. So no matter what, they're going to play in for the playoffs. They've guaranteed that.
By the way, the 9 has to beat the 8 twice, which is so weird.
Oh, is that the rule?
That's what I heard on the broadcast. I had no idea.
Oh, I didn't know that either. That's bizarre. But I guess my question was, do you have any issue? I love that I'm biased because I'm a Clippers fan, but I love that Patrick Beverley was talking shit. And I love that Paul George talks shit. And Blazers fans, you guys, I don't know if you know how Blazers fans are. I know because I used to live and work up in Portland. But you say something about the Blazers, and it's like taking a wiffle ball bat to a hornet's nest, and they're coming out and attacking you in mass and just being like, how dare you disrespect Dame? I'm like, I never disrespected Dame. I just don't like that you guys are hating on Paul George. Paul George, to me, is one of the best two-way players in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, lifelong Clipper. I mean, the bond that you guys have formed over your vast time is and cheering section. No, first of all, you're a Clipper, so you should never talk shit because, again, you're a Clipper. Second of all, you should never talk shit to Dame Lillard because if he's not going to kill you on the court, he's going to kill you on wax. He's the best MC athlete that I've ever heard in my life. He has an entire city behind him, like an actual mob that will, as you so accurately put it, Alex, they will murk you. They are dedicated as they come, and that goes because they have their very own superstar who has never left, right, and who has put that city on his back multiple times and made them proud to be from that city and to rep the Trailblazers. I love the killer instinct, man. And in a sort of league in a time where, you know, people are taking boat trips and going to the Caribbean and Kevin Durant's all in his feelings, making burner accounts on social media, you have an ice cold killer in Dame Lillard who is out here wreaking havoc. The only player other than Wilt Chamberlain to have 3 60-point games in one season. That shit's crazy because he's not 7 foot playing against 4 foot plumbers that have jobs in the offseason. Did you see that shot he made tonight with like 40 seconds left from half court? And he was just like, and he kind of thought about it and he was like, yeah, I'm going to shoot this. And it was the dagger. Like, the dude is nuts. If he was playing in New York, if he was playing in Los Angeles, if he was playing in just about any other place in Portland, he would be probably the biggest star in the game, and he's still a really big star playing.
But I like that you say like Dame just goes out and does his thing. These other guys are doing burner accounts and all this other stuff. Like Dame is just making mixtapes all summer. It's not like he's just quietly going away and playing basketball.
Well,
like, is there a difference between making a mixtape and a burner account?
No, but I like the aggression. He's going to talk shit in your face, and he's going to drop 61 on you, and he's going to stay in Portland while he's doing it. And he's going to keep destroying people.
Listen, I have a hard time slandering Dame. I have a hard time slandering Dame because I agree with you, Big Mac. I think if he were in LA or Philly or New York, like he would be everywhere.
Chicago.
But at the same time, the amount of media I've seen coming out of Portland and Dame's quotes and the interviews around this little bit of shit talk from Saturday's game against the Clippers, in which Dame missed 2 free throws and the Clippers won. The amount of media I've seen around that, I'm like, well, let's not act like Dame isn't petty too. Like, to your point, Adam, let's not act like Dame isn't petty too. But I love Dame, so I hate putting him down. But at the same time, I'm like, because I hit the hornet's nest. I went on Twitter and I defended Paul George and I compared Paul George's playoff numbers with Dame, which are actually quite similar, and their career numbers are somewhat similar, and they both have strengths. I'm like, these guys, if you look at their careers, are sort of in the same tier. And Portland came at me like, fuck you. You would never build a franchise around PG. You're wrong. Dame's loyal. PG switches teams. I'm like, who doesn't switch teams? Lots of guys switch teams. It's great Dame's loyal. Probably won't get him a ring. It's awesome.
I want him to go somewhere else.
Right.
Just to piss off. So just to piss off Portland fans would be awesome. I saw your dog there, Big Mac. That was cool.
That was Paulie. Sorry.
Paulie.
He just came over. He had to make a little cameo. I wanted him to let him say hi.
He's kicking. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I think we wrap. We're back tomorrow. I think 9:00 with Petro, making Mr. Tiger Gator, who's a Petro stan, was saying that Seren may have been out of the show the last couple of days. So we'll find out. I just will respond to Big Mac. I'm not a Californian, but Big Mac likes to slander Californians as bad sports fans. Like the Midwest fans are just so much better. You do realize when you rip on Clippers fans, if someone is really a Clippers fan, right, and they've been for a long time, you know how long the Clippers have been in Southern California?
I get it. You see the hat I'm wearing? No, I'm very well aware of what it's like to be a Clippers fan.
You made a comment. But you made a comment earlier that everyone who roots for the Clippers are Johnny-come-latelys, and they're not necessarily. They've been in Southern California between San Diego and LA.
Yeah, cool. The 7 people Frankie Moon is
42 years.
Great. Yeah, go Clippers.
No,
there's fans out there for sure.
Midwest and like East Coast long-suffering sports fans love to think that SoCal people can't suffer the same way because the weather's better here, but we suffer too, man. We suffer too.
For sure. No, there's great sports fans in Southern California.
By the way, Alex, I'll let you into a trait of our show that you may learn at some point. We don't know whether people are dead or alive. So when we're talking about, when we're mentioning Clippers fans, is Billy Crystal alive?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, he's super alive. He did color commentary for a game last year with Ralph Lawler because it was Ralph Lawler who had been the voice of the Clippers since they came to San Diego from Buffalo in '78. He'd been the voice of the Clippers for that long. He did like a rotating color. So Billy Crystal did a game last year, commentated a game. Yeah, so he hasn't died since then. And he hasn't died since then. So
was he funny?
He was good.
Okay, so it was the first time for everything, I guess.
Yeah, he was good. It was like he's witty and quick. I'm sure if they had to do 2 or 3 games, it would have ran out, you know? Color commentating one game is easy, I think.
Fine. I don't think he's ever been funny before. That's why I was asking if he was funny on that thing.
I mean, Billy Crystal is to me as a younger guy who, like, I didn't grow up in, like, I guess what you might call the Billy Crystal era. Or I mean, like, Billy Crystal was never a thing growing up for me.
So forget Paris doesn't mean anything to you, huh?
No. And so for me as a Clippers fan, I'm like, cool, Billy Crystal's our guy. Like, don't know what he's been in. 3 men and a baby. 3 men and a baby.
3 men and a baby.
He was not in that.
Put some respect on City Slicker's name. Forget Paris. Billy Crystal.
I know Billy Crystal's so I'm just like, he's a celeb, I guess, you know.
By the way, did we see
third best Clippers fan now is Penny Marshall.
Penny Marshall's huge.
Wait, she's still alive?
I think she's dead. She's
she
dead.
Died, yeah.
She's for sure
died.
dead.
She's dead.
Because they're doing a reboot. They're doing a reboot of League of Their Own. They're doing a reboot of League of Their Own, and they asked for her blessing before she died.
I went to a Clippers game last year where they honored her at halftime.
So you knew she's dead.
I knew she was dead, but it took me a minute. No, our fandom goes, it's Billy Crystal, and then, I know Frankie Muniz is up there. Also, Adam Devine from Workaholics.
This is the shittiest fan base in the history of fan bases. That is so bad. That's like picking out Trump supporters. It's like, you got Scott Baio and Roseanne. It's just like, honestly, what are you working with, Los Angeles? This is just sad. Pack it in. Send Kawhi and PG somewhere where they can flourish. Fly, Pelicans, fly.
Oh, Phillip Rivers.
Sorry, didn't Clipper Daryl even abandon them?
I think.
No. I actually had Clipper Daryl. Dude, guys, next time I'm on, let's talk about CD. Man, he's interesting cat. I had him on my podcast before COVID, which we tape in my car, so we do it in person driving around. So I spent a few hours with him. He left. They tried to make him leave the team when Lob City happened. They got more. This is a Don Sterling thing. They said, we don't want you profiting off the team anymore. We're cool now. So you're kicked off. Then he went on Sports Nation on ESPN and cried about it. But then in talking to him, I've realized he is the world's biggest mooch. I have never met someone who is more of a mooch.
Maybe he's just figured out the right way to live, man. Maybe just life's a fleece and he's just playing the game.
He's fleecing people on the reg.
Wow.
He's made his name a part of an NBA team. Like imagine if I was out of Ryan the Bull or some shit. Like, I mean, he's tied to an NBA franchise. It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk, but it's insane.
CD.
I had to buy him lunch. I had to buy him 2 lunches. I had to buy him lunch and then a second one to take home for dinner.
You know what he sounds like for the pro wrestling world? Sounds like Virgil. Sounds like Los Angeles area has their own little version of Virgil.
Lonely Virgil.
Yeah, only exactly.
Wait, tell the Virgil story.
I don't have one. He's just a psychopath that's always trying to get over on people and get free shit out of people. Definitely a guy who would get a lunch and then get a to-go order to go as well. And,
he's more the scammer type than the mooch type. Like there's a website Lonely Virgil because he'd go to these card conventions and nobody would be at his booth and he would just set up his own booth and nobody would talk to him. But then he also would like do that trick where like at a wrestling convention you go up to somebody and like stand next to him like, hey, look, and like take a picture with him and the person and be like, oh, it's $50. And they'll be like, what? We didn't ask for a photo.
And I also think to avoid paying booth fees, he would set up booths outside of conventions and not pay for the space, which is also incredible. So, full disclosure, my computer is going to die.
Okay.
So I can go plug it in. Do you want me to plug it in? Are we going to go more?
No. Next time Ryan and Alex are on, Ryan is going to perform like he did. Well, this is gonna sound creepy. Anyway, after the podcast last week, Ryan performed his heel turn as he's developing a new character. I wish you had done this well before the election. It's brilliant. fuck Alex Jones. That's all I'll say. Because Big Mac, he has a character working. It's amazing. So we'll cut it off there. We're back tomorrow night at 9:00. So make sure you chime in. Alex, what do you got going on this week? Tell us about your radio shows so that people can tune in if they can tune out on the web. Or,
well, Sundays, there's no late night happy hour. And if you want a little dose of some Orange County sports talk, I'm on KOCI radio from 3 to 5 on Sunday afternoons. You can listen on KOCIradio.com. We do sports talk, and it's not too OC centric, so you Vegas folks might enjoy it. But it's a little OC centric. It's a hyper local, but it's also, it's good. Tune in.